and what it's been like in India. And so that's something that we'll touch on as well. But he's been in the industry, he's a technology entrepreneur, been around for 20 years or more. He's also an active early stage investor. So he's looking at both sides. He's raised the funds, he's actually exited a couple of times, and he's got the funds now to be investing in companies like yours potentially. We've also got Kevin Kamana, who's an analyst at Mumbai Angels. And whilst he's got a lot of experience in different areas which range from real estate to, very interestingly, repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation devices, which I'm sure over a drink later you can tell us about. He's over here in India. He's based in Mumbai with Mumbai Angels, and he's really, looking at, he was telling us earlier, he's looking at maybe 100 pitches a month, trying to decide which ones he's going to internalize and perhaps take to some other investors. So he has a BSc in Decision Science and a minor in Business from Carnegie Mellon University in the States, but based over here. We've also got Ravi Trivedi, who is the principal at Southeast Interactive Technology Funds, so invests in early stage companies, a VC fund. And he is a charter member of TiE Bangalore and mentors passionate entrepreneurs, not just entrepreneurs, but the passionate ones amongst you. He's got a lot of experience. He started as a software engineer. He's done a number of different things. He's co-authored a book, he's got patents, he's completed his MBA from Duke University. So thanks, Ravi, for joining us, and we look forward to picking your brains on those VC funds. Why are you so difficult? We will see. And we also have Manish Singhal. Manish? He is the chief Sarthi at Sarthi. So he is our navigator, he is our guide, he's the mentor. He's somebody who's graduated from IIT Kanpur. He's worn a lot of hats already. He's been a strategist, he's been a technologist, he's been involved in operations. And now what he does is he helps startups get established and scale their businesses. He's the kind of in-between, really, between the entrepreneurs and the funds and the angels. So that's who we've got on our panel. Welcome, all of you. We've got some mics there, so welcome. If it's okay with you guys, I'll stay up here and just put some questions to you. This is going to be very interactive, so it's going to be good to get you asking questions or you giving comments as well. So, sure. We have an hour. Okay. At the end of the day, hour and 10. At the end of the day, I think the best thing to do is to look at the process. So the first thing is an entrepreneur starts up the business and then, carries on and then says, oh, I need some funding. So that's kind of like the first, point that comes up in the mind. The next one is then thinking about further on, right? They think they need the funding. How do they actually prepare to get the funding? So what is it that you need to do in order to get funding? So that's the second stage. The third stage will be the actual pitching to a VC or an angel. So where do we find them should really have been in the preparation stage. And now it's like pitching and what is it that they're looking for. Once we pitch to them, if the VC or the angel is interested, they're then going to go on to the next stage where they're going to talk to you more, understand a bit more about your businesses. So we'll look at that stage. And then once you've got the money in, what next? So post the funding, what goes on? So that was the order that I was thinking of taking it in. And after we kind of discussed with the panel a little bit about each of those stages, it would really be good to get either your questions to the panel or any comments or observations you've got. Bootstrap or external funding, right? I'm an entrepreneur, I'm thinking about, raising money. Should I be thinking about raising money? Should I be looking externally, or should I be bootstrapping it, saying, no, I've got to do it myself to this stage? Your thoughts?
Sure, great question. So I think two things I would say. First is, there is, I guess, I wouldn't say undue, but I guess disproportionate media attention towards, raising external funds. So keep that in mind, because there are a lot of businesses which can throw cash and are good for a bootstrap perspective. So that's point number one, I'll say. And I encourage a lot of entrepreneurs who are building those businesses who do not need external funding to go ahead and do that. On the second point, I would say is there are definitely types of businesses. So if you are like we were discussing internet business, which let's say is doing a software as a service application, you do need money to grow at a rapid scale because you have a working capital need, which is your customer is going to pay over 12 months, your cost of acquisition is incurred on day one. So there are types of businesses which require funding, and so it just depends on that. But I think at the end of the day, even there are ways to organically grow the business. It's a conscious choice. In fact, right before this, we were chatting with an entrepreneur. He's like the fourth time, and he's debating, should I even take money? This is a SaaS business in building. And I think it's perfectly legitimate to look at both options. And
Okay, no, that's great. I think probably on this point, I'd like to go to Samir. You've raised money a number of times. So what's made you think at that moment, I need to think about raising money? What's happening in the business at that time, which triggers those thoughts in your head?
So the first company I raised money was in the internet boom time. So you raise money for the heck of it. We just got a lot of money floating around, so you raise money. So the first time we raised money, we actually got money in the bank in about 11 days. We got $2.5 million.
Do you want to say when this was?
This was 1999. I mean, that was the time when everything was going crazy.
Yeah.
So that doesn't count. The second time we raised money, in fact, one of my co-founders, Kiran Deshpande, is here as well. We founded Airtight Networks. And one of the reasons why we had to raise money is because that business needed a lot of investment in IP and working capital. I mean, that is something even from our previous exits we could not fund. I mean, we needed to build boxes and we needed to build the software for that. So that was the reason why we worked on it for about a year. With our own money. So when I came back to India, the three of us actually put in money of our own. We worked on it. We built a product. We worked with a few customers. We got a working demo, and at that time we decided to raise money. So it was not we went with a PPT and just raised money. The third time, again the same thing. It was actually an internet business which I'm in right now, which is Shop Socially, and again we decided to use our own money to build a working product. And so we built a working product, launched the site, and then went for VC financing. And that seems to work very well, especially with low capital need kind of businesses. So if you're in a service business, I would say bootstrap, no question about it. I mean, you need to get to a stage where you actually need the money. If you're in the financial services industry, again, bootstrap. Or if you're in like the gold loan business or something, you need capital from friends and family. But when you get to scale, that's when you raise money. Technology companies typically, I mean, you have an idea, when you're ready to build a team, that's the time you actually raise a small amount of money, get the product to a stage where it works with a few customers, get it to cookie cutter, and then raise a lot of money.
Right, okay, thanks. Anirudh, you're somebody who's thinking about raising money. Do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. So actually I would like to add something about like what he said. I think it's true for him as well as to a certain extent it's true for me that like I started a business at a fairly later stage in my life. So basically I'm fairly comfortable in terms of the money already I have. So I don't need any money from my business for in the next 5 years or something like that. So that may not be the case for somebody who is actually starting the business right away. So those factors might be different. I mean, like, because you need to feed yourself. So I mean, like, if your business is not able to generate that much cash, then how will you feed yourself and how will you go? So I mean, like, you might have to think of actually taking the funding a little bit more early because of those perspectives. But otherwise, I completely agree with him. To be very truthful, I mean, in the beginning, we thought that we want to raise money right now, right away. And
why was that? Why did you think that you needed to?
So, couple of things, right? I mean, like, actually, I'm not like a born entrepreneur. So, what I was thinking is, okay, with my own money, I would be able to sustain this business for about 1 year, 1.5 years. But I would like to have like 3 years, I mean, like, period for gestation time. So, right. I mean, like, so that is. I mean, everybody will tell you, okay, that is not the reason why you should go to VCs for funding, but I think pretty much many entrepreneurs will do that because, I mean, that's a fact of life. Fortunately, we had a few offers, we did not take those, and for a few we were interested in, like, we didn't get funding. And now I'm, like 2 years later, I'm really glad that actually I didn't do the funding round at that particular time. So I totally agree with these guys that like you should delay it as much as possible as long as your cash flows allow it.
And is that what you're doing, audience? Just out of interest, how many of you are sitting there now thinking, do I need to? How many, just out of interest, how many of you who are looking to raise funds are from a service industry side? Okay. And what about the rest of you from a technology? Is it a technology? Yeah, there's a few technology ones out there. So there's a bit of advice for you there about whether you should or not. Maybe if I can ask our Chief Sardi here to give some thoughts on it. I mean, when you're talking to businesses that are saying, yeah, I'm thinking about raising funds, what are the questions you ask them?
See, in my opinion, we have to sort of get into an investor shoe first and then try to see the business, not from the entrepreneur's shoe. If you get into the investor's shoe and then you look at investing the business, it's all about managing risk reward. So when you see that way, that okay, how much of risk an investor needs to digest to be able to invest my business is something that I have to gauge. And that links back to the question whether to bootstrap, when to fund, how to fund, is to build a way out for your business in which this risks can be mitigated over a period of time. So how do you do that? What questions do I ask? Typically I ask is whether there is a way in which you can build it in an iterative model and show a value in the customer place in some way.
So how are you going to scale it?
How can I scale that?
Yeah.
That's the question where you need to answer this question, whether this is a business where it's generating revenues and it can scale on that, versus a business which needs capital necessarily to scale. So I'll give you one example. I've been mentoring one online business. An online business typical myth is that you need money to scale. We've been working with that business almost for 2 years now, and I have seen that we have seen a growth of almost 2x in 1 year, and it's a self-bootstrap business.
Right.
And the reason it has happened that way is because these guys went and created something which was very valuable in the marketplace. And that value proposition sort of turned the table around. In fact, that business is getting offers from the investors to take their money.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So my advice to the entrepreneurs, or my effort, it's not possible always, but is there a possibility to get into a place where investors are chasing you rather you are chasing investors?
Right.
How do we get there is $1 million question.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Just going over to the audience then. Those of you who are really at those initial stages where you're thinking, I need to get some funding. From questions from that point of view, do you have any questions to our panel? Yeah, we have.
I would like to ask, and continue on the same lines.
Can you speak up a little bit?
You said you have to reach to a stage where the entrepreneurs start chasing you.
The investors start chasing you.
Sorry, I got it. So how do you make sure that you are visible to the investors?
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, so I think that's an excellent point which I also wanted to make, that focus on building the business. The investors will find you because we are in the business to invest in the best entrepreneurs as well as best teams. This is our job. So we will find you. Of course, you should be in the radar to some extent,
TiE events is a good way of doing it.
But
I just wanted to add one simple tip. Meet the investors. When they ask you whether you're looking for funds, say no.
Good point. Any other questions? We have one over here. Yeah.
One question I had, should you approach investors just to get mentoring? Like you are unsure whether you can really do the strategic planning that is required to get the business, but you investors just for mentoring.
Just to repeat it for the benefit of the people